Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is that time of the week once again. Welcome to the Blackout Racing League, season number 2. Today, where do we head off to? Well, that is a great question. And let me indulge you in the calendar. Season 14 of Blackout in its history, season 2 on F1 23. And as you can see, well, last week we had the sprint and we were in Imola. If you haven't been to watch it, go to the KarlsCars YouTube channel. You can find the whole VOD right there. Where in Texas, I got blue-balled. And by blue-balled, I mean I'm surprised they didn't fall off. Because that was the most horrible feeling I've ever had. And I've been through a lot in my life. Imola was less bad. However, there was no shortage of drama. Although Thanassi still won, so what can you do? Even when the screen says he doesn't win, the aliens still put him in first place. And I think that's all you really need to know. He won in Imola convincingly, though, in the end. Time penalties are rife, though. Meant that AlphaTauri, once again, it's always buck 50. You know what? About buck 57, yeah? The first race of the day always goes shambolically. Always absolutely cataclysmic. And then the second race, he's like, okay, I know how to drive a car now. And then he does. And you know what? I'm here for it. Another podium for the AlphaTauri driver. That means AlphaTauri in the constructor standings are absolutely flying, can I just say. So that is quite unbelievable, you know? I think at the end of the day, we've got to respect the consistency that team have. Just like Red Bull in real life. Speaking of Red Bull in real life, let's take a minute to... Let's take a moment of silence for Sergio Perez. Okay, that was a moment of silence. Now let's get on to the festivities of the day. And I'll tell you what one of the festivities is. And the fact is, it's Halloween. A lot of you will know, of course. I thought it was a holiday that was only historically celebrated by Americans for the most part. But here we are. We do celebrate it in the UK as well. A lot of people, mostly young children, will knock on people's doors and try and file restraining orders afterwards. It's quite a dangerous time. However, I've chosen my Halloween costume. I think I bet all of you are asking, Karl, what are you going to dress up as for Halloween? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I could only be too happy to oblige. This might scare you. This might actually properly shake you to your core. So brace yourselves. Right, and with that out of the way, let's go back to the standby screen, because there isn't that much else to talk about, really. Other than the fact we have 18 of the cream of the crop. At the moment, only 16 in the lobby. Waiting a couple more moments for people to join in and join in the fun. Magico says, love you, Karl. I love you too, Magico. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm only too happy to announce that the wedding is in 2 days' time. It's always great to be back on a Monday evening. Like I've said it many a time, I wouldn't imagine doing anything else with my Monday evening. I don't know if that's sad or a compliment. You better take it as a compliment, that's all I'm going to say. But anyways, like I was saying, Mexico and... Oh no. We're going to Monaco. I'm really annoyed I didn't upload Monaco, because Twitch, I had to... For those of you that don't know, when I did Monaco, I basically had to head straight to the airport to go to Italy on the same evening. So that's why I couldn't do Monaco, basically. Upload Monaco, should I say. But let's put it this way. Monaco was... what's the word? Clean? No. Great? No. Gonorrhea-ish? Yes, that. It was shambolic, I'll be honest with you. But, you know, what can you do? You can't win them all. This time, though, I can only almost, guarantee that we are in for a treat at the Monaco Grand Prix. But, for now, ladies and gentlemen, turn up the noise, because we are off to the Mexican Grand Prix. For short qualifying, of course, no sprint this weekend. We did all of that last time. Tagmato is with Epic Lan. Is he going to have an epic result, though? Well, he'll be hoping so. Back in the Alpine car once again. Alpine have 2 cars leading the limelight, hopefully, this weekend. However, don't ever count out AlphaTauri. Don't ever count them out. I don't know why you would. They've absolutely steamrolled the constructors so far. Anyway, here we are, Mexico City, one of the all-time great crowds in Formula 1, until your name is Charles Leclerc and they try and crucify you for something that wasn't your fault. Sounds a lot like Jesus. Is Charles Leclerc Jesus? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I get the wires crossed. There's a bit of confusion there. Anyway, who will be first out onto the track? I can almost confidently predict to you who the first one on the track is going to be. Let me get the details up for you. Oh. I've been flummoxed. Captain Wilco has spedboat his way out of the pit lane and absolutely upset my rhythm because I thought Dirkleton was going to be the one to head out of the pits. There he is, second out of the... There he is, second out of the... I was going to say if it wasn't second out of the pit lane, the simulation really has broken. But Captain Wilco indeed does break up the simulation. Aston Martin here in real life, of course, had an absolute shocker of things. And by shocker of things, I mean both cars retiring. And Lance Stroll, once again, I was going to say forgetting how to drive, but that's just Lance Stroll, to be honest with you. Anyway, what can we expect from Mexico City? Well, on the F1 game at least, I'd say one of the trickiest tracks to drive. And the reason I say that is because, my God, have you felt how much grip is on this track? There is more grip in the Mongolian desert than there is on the Mexico City Grand Prix track. And that is not an exaggeration, I'll tell you that much. As I was saying though, Aston Martin, real life here, had an absolute shocker of things. Quite unlike most of their season, however, somehow their updates have just been down dates. It's not even just dates, it's just unbelievably shocking. But here today, we're on equal cars, so that can't happen unless they also have a shocker here. The Mexico track, one of the trickiest in terms of the grip. Feels like you really are driving on pure sand particles, but let's ride on board with Wilco then. On one of the longest back straights in Formula 1. Tumbling our way down towards turn 1. Spot your braking point on the left, about 100 metres, slam on the anchors, pinch the car in there, no problems at all. Of course, very easy as well to lock up the rears, depending on how much brake bias you want to slam backwards, just to try and get that extra rotation, but that can also be to your detriment, so be careful. Again, 100 meter board is your friend as you head into the left-hander. Purple sector 1, because it's the only one that's done it. Seems like Dirk, though, has immediately taken away that mantle from the captain. Through the right-hander, you can use a bit of curb. I normally opt against it, because you just end up getting wheel spin, like you just heard there. Through this section, though, use the curbs a tiny bit. Unlike real life, you can go full throttle through here, and it's very disconcerting and actually makes me sick. So before I have a terminal illness, head through into the stadium section. Quite the kerfuffle and quite the crowd through here. Even the game can't quite simulate just how many people are crammed into that section. Absolutely wonderful symphony of cheers for Checo until he retires. Across the line for Wilco, our first time of the day. A 1 minute 17.6. But what can Dirkleton do? He's invalidated his lap. What a knob. So that was a bit harsh, actually. I apologise. Sorry, that was very out of character. Just don't invalidate your lap times. That's all I'm trying to say. Big Sam hasn't done it. Across the line he goes, and it's not. It's P2 for now. Let's see, though, what Buck 57 can do. The answer is he's on an outlap, so why do I bother? It's Milo, though. That's really pushing to the ragged edge. The back end sliding about there. Buck 20 having multiple issues on trying to get on the game, it seems. Across the line, Milo goes, though, in half a second between him and Captain Wilco. So Wilco really got it all together. Raiden pips in ahead of Big Sam. Across the line, Tag Marta goes, and he is back with epic LAN. He's got epic fans, and he's had an epic ran of things until Maximus comes along and steals his thunder. The number 3 in real life did pretty well, and it looks like Maximus is keeping up that trend. Vulcan goes 5th briefly until Stark just goes in just behind his teammate. Not a bad banker at all in the purple final sector as Magico goes P5 into the 117s. Very neat lap from the Red Bull driver. Who's next across the line? The answer is it's not Dirk just yet, but he will be across the line soon. Almost no battery left to use on that car. Will come across to not complete a lap. He's actually knocked the bollard over. And that is another sacrifice that I am willing to accept. Here's Slam. Hasn't slammed into anything blissfully across the line, and it's 6th place. Buck 20 has retired from the session, meanwhile. Clearly too scared of going to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Buck 57 goes into 4th place. Lovely little lap from him. The second McLaren of Buck 20. has joined again, but unfortunately it's no consolation out of this session already. So what can you do? Jamie Tarquin, Williams driver, through this section once again. Does he keep it pinned? No slight lift there. You can afford to take a little bit more curve though. Straighten the car out and then slammed down on the power. That wasn't English. That tumbleweed doesn't even care either. So through the stadium section we go. Get the front end pinched in as much as you can. Very easy to understeer into that section. Just carry too much speed and the front tyres screaming for resuscitation. Little bit of a slide out of the final corner, but keep it as narrow as you can. Jamie Tarquin, P2, and not far off at all of Maximus's time. Only 13 thousandths. He's weaving for joy. If he weaves too much, he'll be in the wall and he'll have egg on his face. It's a cool show, and I'll tell you what, he hasn't absolutely sent it into the wall. Is it talent, or is it squeaky bum time? It's a very, very fine line between that, I'll tell you that for a fact. J-Lane and Dirk out on outlaps once again here. I have to apologise once again for calling Dirk what I did. I have to be quite clear to all of everyone watching, just to keep it family friendly. I meant the door, just to be quite clear. And where once an avenue was opened, it can be closed. Track limits closed the first one for Mr. Dirkleton. However, a new pathway opens up. A new opportunity shows its head. Hopefully not rearing its ugly one, because that's disgraceful. Dirk has invalidated his lap, which is a bad omen, but it is an outlap, so it doesn't really matter. Sock, however, very interestingly, on another lap in the Aston Martin. Clearly making the most of all of the sets of soft tyres he has to use. Through this DRS zone then, J-Lane starting a lap meanwhile, and it's a purple sector 2 for Stark. So here we go then. Could be a switching of the guard. The Ferraris are one Ferrari is currently on top. J-Lane might make it 2 Ferraris, but for now, we have Stark. Hello, voice. Through the final corner, across the line. Will my voice break for joy? No. No, it didn't. It's still a 1 minute 17.8. So now we wait with reserved optimism for Big Samuel. Or not. There he is, Big Samuel. Actually, let's look at J-Lane. Through this stadium section he goes. Opts to keep it in 5th. Revs bogged down slightly, but the dulling of the revs means you'd have to worry less about the kind of traction you're planting down. Through into these final sets of corners. His flap is wide open. Put it away, sir. It's a family-friendly show. Stadium section. The crowd are loving his flap action. I never want to say that again. Through into the final corners. Has J-Lane picked the right lane? Well, that's a question I can answer for you right now. It is the right lane. Ferrari are on top in here in Mexico. Just like in real life, the prancing horse replicating their gallop. P1 and 2. J-Lane a 1 minute 17. Just in the 1 minute 17.3s. 2 thousandths below that threshold. But out of the pits, look who it is. Here comes Thanassi and Terziak. 1 and 2 in the championship. I apologise for not showing you the championship standings, but the only championship standing screenshot I had would have been wider than Saturn. So I didn't use it. But all you need to know is that the battle for P2 is really spicy. A few drivers in the hundreds of points and not much gap between them. For instance, Milo, who's on an outlap currently, only 3 points currently behind Terziak. Wilco, meanwhile, hello. God, that's a statement. I completely missed that. My apologies. Phenomenal lap from the Aston Martin driver. Sends the paddock into purling astonishment. 4 temps put on the head tops of absolutely everybody else. My word. Well then, that's a statement if I've ever seen one. Here comes Terziak, soon to come through. Is this man the championship leader? As I was saying though, Terziak. Yeah, I already said as I was saying. Just as I was saying, section you. And really confuse you little synapses. Terziak only 3 points ahead of that man Milo, who's just gone through Sector 1 and gone purple. So it's all to play for still. P2 in the championship, of course, last time out, had made a mistake in Imola at the first few corners. Then it was in the hands of Lady Luck. Unfortunately, Lady Luck is a word I can't say. But Terziak goes purple in the first sector. So perhaps Lady Luck... Oh, no! Thanassi's been disqualified for going the wrong way. You plum. You're supposed to go the right way. Controversy here in Mexico. Probably not his fault, to be honest with you. Had a little mistake. But the game, as soon as you even try and correct yourself, Milo across the line, meanwhile, to only go and keep 10th fastest at the moment. Horror story here. All of a sudden, all the fairy tales I was writing have descended into anarchy. Through the final corner comes Terziak. Very cleanly done indeed. Line of narrowest fit. And he goes P3 for the moment. So there you go. A decent little banker, and it's a little bit of confidence until Buck57 comes in and slaps 7,000ths round his chops. Very nice indeed. It's all happening here then. Controversy. One man didn't even get to set a lap time. Everyone now has set lap times, other than 2 people. One of them hasn't even had a chance to try because Codemasters said, screw you. Thanassi also had Codemasters say, screw you, but with much more horrendous repercussions. Disqualified from qualifying. And I think the only feasible solution is to cut his championship points in half. Because that right there is senile. Incredibly unsafe. And I would never ever accept that as I was a steward. Anyway, moving on. Who's on lap times? Actually, quite a few people. One of which is Jamie Tardqueen, who's just started a lap. Milo, meanwhile, has invalidated his lap time and is coming into the pits anyway. But it's Raiden who will come through to not complete a lap. Let me have fun. Why do I not get any fun? My goodness. Tell you who will give me some fun, though, and that's Slam. And he's only gone 53,000ths, but oh, never mind, it's a purple sector too. Okay, zestmeup.com. Unleash it through the stadium section. The crowd are absolutely drooling for the Mercedes spectacle. P2 in the race in real life, made the mediums last an astronomical amount of laps, and Slam is about to send the crowd. For flip's sake, man! Bit much passion. Stark will cross the line, though, blissfully for me, and he'll cross the line and go P2. Now I can have some fun now. Aston Martin are the ones with a spring in their step. 1 and 2 for the team. Goodness me, only one man, though, to blitz into the 1 minute 16s. Captain Wilco, the only man to steer his ship into uncharted waters. Bunch of cars setting lap times, so Jamie Tarquin, though, there he is! Announcing himself on the stage of Mexico City. Call him the principal act. He could just deck it into the wall and he probably wouldn't suffer that much. If you tried doing this in F1 22, well, let me put it this way. You'd be embarrassed, for lack of a better term. Jamie Tarquin, though, takes provisional pole by a 1/10 of a second. Although, because of how short the lap is, with only 5 minutes to go, I say only 5 minutes, but that is more than enough time for the rest of the grid to get back out there and set their final laps of this qualifying session. I turned my microphone off there so you didn't have to hear my gaseous gremlins. Big Sam's had no such gremlins, though. He's got no battery left, though, so I would assume he's peeling into the pits. One man who won't, though. Oh, never mind. Yes, he will. Just forget it. Forget it! He will peel into the pits. Dirk might not, though. And he hasn't. I can now take back my comments from earlier because he's been a clean boy since that early stage. And he will come round the final corner, cross the line. And it is not an improvement. Okay. But to be honest, he didn't even start a lap. That's why. You see, I'm just testing you. I was waiting for you to notice, people. Who's actually on lap times, though? Well, Magico's out on an out lap. So is Ivory. He's out on an out lap. Of course, Jamie Tarquin peeling into the pit lane after setting provisional pole position. The Haas of Vulcan, though, is out and about to commandeer his spaceship to go where no man, woman, or other unspecified gender has gone before. We here are very inclusive here at Blackout, as you can imagine. What, you think we aren't? Get out. That's what I say to you. That's not very inclusive, is it? Magico starts a lap time. Let's ride on board with the Red Bull driver. The man who I'm planning to marry in a couple of days. Well, unless he calls off the wedding. But anyway, through the first couple of corners. Turn number 1. Just keeping off the curbs, actually. And you know what? Wise decision. You can actually bottom out on the curbs quite significantly here. According to my display, Magico, though, not using any battery. And in fact, he aborts his lap time before he's even begun it. My goodness. Dirk, meanwhile, does get that representative lap in. Only 3 thousandths off Tag Marta. But it is inside the top 10 for the Williams driver. 1 minute 17.6. Now, here's a tactic, Dirk. If you just disconnect from the session, you can go straight back into the pit lane, then reconnect. You can actually get 1 more lap time in. If I've done the maths correctly here, if I've run the numbers right, then I think that is possible. However, I doubt he will do that. Because I've only just thought about it, and time is running out, so I apologise. But anyway, here come the heavy hitters. Wilco, Stark, J-Lane, Jamie Tarquin out of the pit lane for one final harangue around this Mexico City track. Slam outlap, Milo outlap, bunch of people on outlaps getting dutifully out of the way. Is the McLaren man. Jamie Tarquin on an outlap as well, just wanted to get back past. For some reason, he's deciding that doing the jiggle is a good idea. However, I can't really endorse that. Number 1, it's safe for Twitch TOS, and 2, it will provide any extra pace. But we'll soon find out. I'm willing to be proven wrong. Stark, one of the first of the lead runners to begin his lap then. I must say also, Terziak's gone through the first sector, so I'm wrong. But, you know, I'm only human. I make mistakes. That's what we're here for. Magico also up ahead. Big Sam on an outlap up ahead as well. In fact, those of them on outlaps better get a move on. But they will have the optimum track at the end. Big Sam better get out of the way. Dirk's retired from the session. That's the end of his qualifying. The Williams driver of Jamie Tarquin gets dutifully out of the way of Magico. Perhaps Big Sam giving a little bit of a slipstream to Magico for a brief moment. And it is helping. A purple sector too, you know. Okay. Very nice indeed. Through the final corners, should I say, comes Magico. One of the first to set lap time. A bit of a slide though. But through the final corner, should keep it all together. Gets the power down nicely. And across the line he goes. Where is it? It's still P10. Although, perhaps he will go for another lap. Yes, his battery is quite low, but there is time to do so. And giving Big Sam a very, very decent tow as well. And perhaps he'll do the same for the next set of corners as well. So let's see what Stark can do. Terziak briefly goes into P3. Stark's had severe problems. I mean, severe problems. But anyway, who's next across the line? Milo's across the line. Off he goes for a flying lap, as does Mr. Maximus behind him on a flying lap. Now we'll see how the times tumble. Tag Marta across the line to start a flying lap. That's the end of Stark's session. He'll start at least P5. Maximus actually got P3. My apologies. Got a decent lap in, just not able to break into the 1 minute 16s. Wilco, though, seems to be the only man to challenge for pole position, and he can't do it. That is it. No improvement on his lap time. Jamie Tarquin all but guaranteed pole position. Unless Buck 57 has an answer to it, and a couple of others on this grid lineup. There's every chance it's not over till it's over. Remember, anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does. Watching Jamie Tarquin, but keeping a close eye on this man in the AlphaTauri. One driver disqualified, they'd be sent into some kind of erupted elation if their other driver could get it near the front. Buck 57, narrowest line, and he goes P5 for Jamie Tarquin, though. It's an improvement on his pole position time. Extends his margin out front, over 0.3 of a second. Milo will improve to P8. There are still drivers going on, so he won't call it until the final bell has been rung. But Jamie Tarquin surely all but guaranteed pole position. Great lap from Tag Marta to get 6th place. Who else to come through? Magico into the pit lane. That's the end of his qualifying session. And that will do it. That will do it here in Mexico. The story then, Jamie Tarquin, Williams have pole position here in Mexico City. Aston Martin not far behind. But at the end of the day, Jamie Tarquin was the man that made the difference. Lots to be excited about, though. There isn't that much pace between drivers here. And with a track where DRS is so immensely powerful and the slipstream is so important, you never know what could happen here in Mexico City. Like I said then, Jamie Tarquin, has turned the world upside down. He's in pole position in the Williams car. Wilco will line up P2 with Maximus complete in the top 3. Terziak 4th, Buck 57 5th, Tagmata in 6th. Stark down to 7th when all came to shoving, whatever that means. J-Lane 8th, Milo 9th, Slam completes the top 10. With Dirkleton, Magico, Vulcan, Big Sam, Raiden, Ivory, Buck 20, and a disqualified disgrace. That's a bit harsh, but Thanassi in last. That was very unsafe what he did, though. Very unprofessional. The Blackout stewards must have something to say about that. Codemaster's skill issues aside, and all things considered, here we are then, for the Mexican Grand Prix. In real life, a 71-lap Leviathan. Here, a 25-lap unsteamed cod. Quite tasty, but depending on what size you get, pretty small. And don't ask me about my Friday night protocol. So, here we are in the pit lane. Mexico's seen its fair share of races, seen fair share of somewhat decent races, although overtaking in the low air density is very difficult because of how thin it is. The cars need frequently to be cooled. That's the priority in the race. That's why it's not the most physical race, because the cars just have to keep cool, keep the tyres in the window. In the end, the mediums overthrew the hards, but one man who has dominated here more than anyone else, one Max Verstappen. Won the previous 3 times in Mexico, also won in 2018 and 2017. 5 wins here at Mexico City, and probably aiming for even more as his F1 career goes on. Well, we wait patiently for the 5 red lights. I doubt there'll be a formation lap, because why would there be? Codemasters can't code properly, which means they're literally just called code. So then, we wait with bated breath. And then once we switch over to the grid lineup at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, we hear the symphony of V6 song, 5 red lights. Lights out and away we go here in Mexico City. And it's not a great start from Jamie Tarquin. On those hard tyres, Wilco steams into the lead already. Superior traction off the start, and it could get very grisly here into turn number 1. Lots of cars jockeying for position as we head through into turn 1. Maximus trying to go for the move. Look at Buck 57 though with momentum. Oh no, J-Lane, what have you done? Immediately shunting into the wall. I saw him spearhead into the barrier almost instantly. And there's a safety car already. I actually want to die. Well, it was predictable, wasn't it? I told you. It was all getting very finicky, a little bit close for comfort. Unfortunately, J-Lane was not comfortable at all. Spearing into the wall, front right sheared off. Met with barrier for a night out. Unfortunately, all barriers are the same. Slapped him and sent him home with egg on his face. So what can you do? Well then, safety car allows the soft tyre runners to just keep their tyres in the operating window for a little bit longer. Keep the tyre life all in check. So then, what strategies can we expect now? Of course, we can talk about it while the safety car's here. Well, softs to mediums, obviously. That's probably a guaranteed one. Maybe softs to hards at the end of the day. Hards to mediums, hards to softs. You just don't know, really. Probably, I would expect medium, soft, medium as like the primary strategy. But I've been proven wrong quite a few times before. I harken back season 1, where Tom in Bahrain went soft medium as the strategy. Timalele went medium hard, or vice versa. But at the end of the day, the hard-medium strategy worked. Tom ran out of tyres at the end on his softer strategy. And Timalele, on the final the final straight, the final traction zone, just managed to edge ahead of Tom, who was in that Red Bull car last season. And just able to win the first race of that season. It's quite interesting, really. We all thought... Well, I say we all thought. I certainly thought after race 1 and 2, where Timalele got the 2 wins on the bounce. I thought for certain that surely that would have been a continuation of the progress he'd done in F1 22. Steamrolled pretty much every single league, other than the final one, which is a 0.5. But even so, steamrolled all 3 seasons that I could see on F1 22. But then, we had this man, and I apologise for not keeping track of his start, because my word, he's already up into P12 from the back of the field. Although, I say that, Buck 20, give him a round of applause. Buck 20, absolutely monstrous start, 17th to 10th place already in that McLaren. Buck 20, of course, running with the setup of 500 wings. More points of downforce than an elephant, and they are quite heavy. The order so far then, Captain Wilco sailed on into P1 at the start before the safety car came out and reared its ugly grille. I must say, fun fact by the way, if you want to know why cars nowadays, like Mercedes, like BMW with their Alvin and the Chipmunks tribute grille, have the massive grills on the front, it's because it appeals apparently to the Eastern market, the Chinese market specifically it appeals to. Why? No idea. But apparently it appeals to them. So there you go. There's your fun factoid of the day. And I have plenty more of those coming along. Actually, Mexico. Oh, this is the race where we did the fun facts, didn't we? I'm going to have to wait for another safety car to do them in this case. However, I will not shy away from a fun fact or two as we go on through. Alpine 5 and 6 currently, can I just say. It's Buck 57 that had a tremendous launch on the Ferrari. Maximus compromised himself, trying to go down the inside of Jamie Tarquin, and instead Buck 57 said, "Thank you for that invitation, sir. I'll post a first-class gold standard stamp round the outside." And that was all she wrote for now. However, we still have 22 tours, 21 laps of racing to go here in Mexico. Who will Mexi go first? I'll be right back. I'm going to find a bridge. It's Captain Wilco that's going to Mexi go first. He's the one that has to pull the trigger. Jamie Tarquin on the hards will keep a watching brief. However, with the superior traction on the softs, I would imagine Wilco will scamper away and surely do it mid-corner if he's to be intelligent here, because Tarquin just won't get the same traction. He does go in the mid-corner, gets a decent rear exit, but not nearly as much of a gap as he would have might hoped. Jamie Tarquin suddenly with monumental slipstream here. We've mentioned so many times how the slipstream is so powerful. Stark, meanwhile, gets great momentum alongside Tag Marta down the inside. Goes the Aston Martin driver, and he's through immediately. Great restart from Stark. Maximus and Terziak having a little scrap, eh? And Thanassi already past Magico into P11. The progress continues, and it's set to only get better as he eyes up Buck 20. Looks to the outside, but nothing doing there. Buck 20. Robust round the outside for a brief moment, but here comes the AlphaTauri. Get the traction now, get it planted if you can. Have the inside of the stadium section. The two of them still side by side, but traction in the AlphaTauri man's favour. Very nicely done from Thanassi. Let's see what else is happening. Well, Slam's looking very, very zesty. Getting up close and personal with Milo's rear end as he looks to the outside line for this section. I'm not sure if you want to do that very often, but sweeping round goes Slam. Lovely little move there. Stark, meanwhile, battling once again with Tag Marta, side by side. There's proof, Stroll and Bottas, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that you can get 2 cars through this section safely. Stark, using the momentum on the outside, does keep P6, however, oh my, I thought Slam was about to nosh into the wall there. That's disgusting. But Tag Marta, once again, I told you, slipstream, the power that it has is unrivaled. And Milo now looking to have a say in things. Stark, though, still on that inside. He's going to slightly bonk the rear of Tag Marta. Could be damaged, but we'll have to wait and see confirmation on that. It's actually Slam, once again, that finds momentum. And through he goes on Milo. But here comes Thanassi out of nowhere. What was P11 has suddenly, in a matter of moments, turned into P8. Slam tries to find the momentum on the championship leader, but nothing doing. Thanassi surges his way through, looks to the inside of Stark. That was opportunistic, to say the least. Stark, though, weathers the storm for now. Well then, it's all happening here. Captain Wilco, by the way, with a 2-second lead to his name. So very nice there. It's Thanassi I'm going to watch, though. Look at the speed he's carried through that section. Easily to the inside line. The outside line has proved to have great momentum. Stark trying to use it, but not enough mechanical grip that can carry him through. Not enough downforce. Slam looking to the outside briefly. What great racing we're having in Mexico right now. 2 Alpines lie between the AlphaTauri man and what would be in real life double figures worth of points. Meanwhile, Buck 20 gets past his teammate, and Magico's looking a bit fruity. He goes in the Why are you feeling fruity? Lad, the wedding's in a couple of days. What are you doing? Anyway, here comes Buck 20. Clearly 500 wings were inverted on the straight, because straight past Slam he goes. Down the inside. Easy as you like. A first-class assignment sent into the teacher, who gave it full score. And what has happened to Wilco? Out of nowhere, Jamie Tarquin assumes the race lead. What was a 2-second gap, Wilco with a catastrophic mistake, and Jamie Tarquin picks up the spoils. We can calm down now a little bit. Things just leveling out here in the monumental Mexican spectacle. Jamie Tarquin, P1, Wilco P2. Of course, he will have DRS at the end of this lap, but you have to wonder, with a 2-second lead, how on earth he bottled it. The answer is he bottled it. And that's all you really need to know. Through the final corner, though, he will, blissfully for him, have DRS to his name. The Aston Martin driver, Jamie Tarquin, with a 6/10 of a second gap. A flipping great exit from Captain Wilco. Yellow flag in Sector 3. Raiden's had a bit of a problem. Keeping going, though. All 4 wheels pointing in the right direction. Here comes Wilco. We didn't see the move because Codemaster's camera angles are full of professional words. But Wilco takes the lead, and with a second helping of DRS, should keep it. So, once again, the Aston Martin driver assumes that P1 in this race so far, against that hard tyre runner in the Williams. Magico, though, fighting against Dirkleton, and getting ahead of Dirkleton. It's actually Vulcan that's looking for the move. Down the inside of the Williams driver on the hard tyres. The hards really weren't the right way to go. Both Williams cars are on it, and it's really not paid off. Vulcan sweeps round the outside, and there goes Dirkleton descending into P14. Captain Wilco assumes the lead once again then, but look at that gap. Only half a second between him and Jamie Tarquin. Really not much to separate them, even though he looked so indomitable on those softs. The omnipotence of the Aston Martin driver has been broken, and Jamie Tarquin now, the one with DRS. On board with the Williams driver. We won't miss it this time. We certainly won't miss Thanassi either. You can see him on the left of your screen on the scoreboard. Easy going to get past into P6. Jamie Tarquin resumes the lead then. Thanassi does get up into P6. And Stark actually pulls into the pits. Very interesting. Okay. And it is for front wing damage. Well then. I didn't see what on earth caused it. It might well have been the contact from earlier. Stark feeling like he'd lost clearly too much time though. And already onto a set of medium tyres. They'll probably take him to the end. But Stark's race just got that little bit more tricky, Dicky. The top 5 all in your shot then. Thanassi, 4.1 seconds behind. Tagmata must have been fighting him extremely hard in order for that to be the eventuality. Terziak's caught up right to the back of this train, meanwhile. Fighting hammer and tong has not paid off. What a great shot there on the helicopter cam. Meanwhile, Vulcan, that's not great news. You've cut the track. And that doesn't warrant a good thing, unfortunately for you. Once again, DRS wide open. Aston Martin man chasing down Williams driver. Not much battery to play with, though, for either of the two drivers. But look how powerful it is. Through into turn one will go. And the inside line was open and available. But Wilco not choosing to dive it down the inside. Just taking his time. Meanwhile, Tag Marta comes into the pits, as does Buck 20. Was this the plan then? To pit on this lap, get the fresh set of boots on. Onto mediums goes Tag Marta. Buck 20, meanwhile. What does he come out on? Which is very brave. Hard tyres. Okay. Interesting stuff. Could get a bit fruity. Terziak, meanwhile, up into P4. Ahead of Maximus. Thanassi hasn't really caught up to this train. The pace equalising out just a little bit now, which will be blissful news for the front five. Just able to get on their merry way here in Mexico. The battle for 7th, though, is not a foregone conclusion by any means, but Milo caught up a massive amount in that fast speed section. The medium-soft crossover might well be happening here, and look how much Milo's catching up. Never mind, my computer has a skill issue. Through the left-right hander, I do see it. Slam with the cold shoulder, though. Very cold shoulder. Very icy shoulder, but look how wide he's going. The softs look goosed in comparison. Milo with a good enough switchback could have got him in the final corner. That would have been outrageous. Slam does come into the pits, though, and that's why, because I've finally seen, with my optical issues, that he has no front wing end plate. Voldemort won't welcome him, of course, because he doesn't have a... Well, he still has most of his nose. Meanwhile, up at the front, things have got very interesting. Buck 57 started on those mediums. If you're a soft tyre runner, now's the time to start panicking, because now the mediums and the hards have that crossover. Jamie Tarkin with a bit of a slide out of that corner means here comes Buck 57 then. So this is where things could get a bit interesting now. AlphaTauri, one man started at the back, one man started near the front. The man here racing for the lead, probably not the one you'd expect it to be here in race 1 of the evening. Normally has a shocker of things. Jamie Tarkin with a 3-second time penalty, though, for corner cutting. Trying to eke out everything out of those hards. But no matter how hard he caresses them, and that's a contradictory phrase if I've ever heard one, but no matter how hard he tries, at the end of the day, what it does yield is a 3-second time penalty. The hard tyres in itself are a 3-second time penalty, to be honest. There's not much to shout about here, though. Buck 57, you knew it was coming. You knew it was going to happen. The script was set. And Buck 57 and AlphaTauri is in the lead of this race. Not the one, like I said, you might have been expecting. But even so, Buck 57 assumes the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix. Mediums versus hard tyres, though. Dirkleton versus Milo. Still will be side by side into turn number 1. Round the outside goes Milo. And a lovely, neat little move there from the McLaren man. Colouring well within the lines in his colouring book. Unlike 3 drivers who have penalties, we won't talk about that. Either way, the McLaren man up into P6. McLaren 6th and 13th at the moment, which is quite horrible. But still a lot to play for in this race. Not even halfway yet. Jamie Tarquin might have a 3-second time penalty. Certainly hasn't lost his spirit. Well within DRS range. And Terziak's coming to join this party as well. Thanassi did start on those soft tyres, and fair enough, why wouldn't he? But look how wide he goes. The understeer just washes him out of that corner. Man is Atlantic Ocean in comparison, but into the pits he goes. I thought it was going to happen. And that was circumspect. I thought he sped into the pit lane, but apparently not. Maximus also pits on this lap, by the way. So, Ferrari... And I say Ferrari, well, it could be Ferrari because they went on the hards, but Maximus deciding now is the optimal time. Out of the pits he comes. Where's Captain Wilco? There he is. Went onto the hards, a couple of laps to go. Well within DRS range of Maximus. Maximus, though, has done the overcut on big old Captain Wilco. Very interesting stuff. Jamie Tarquin reassumes the lead, meanwhile. The top 3 all in the same shot. 16 seconds, the gap between them and 4th place Milo, who I believe has not made a stop in this race so far. Unless he has. He has not indeed. Dirk, of course, stopped very early on onto the hard tyres. Don't count him out by any means for a decent points finish, pending there's not a safety car. But even so, still don't count him out. If he gets to that opportunity for a free pit stop, he will use that. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. Through this section once again, meanwhile, out of the final corner, Buck 57 will still have DRS, but look how close Terziak is. A bit of spice has been added to the pot. The casserole pot has been brought up to a boil. What started out as a simmer and surging on past, surely, is the Alpine driver. Oh, never mind. Well, you can't win them all. That's all I'll say. Milo, though, will surely get the move done on Dirkleton. 17 seconds now, the gap between them and the cars ahead. This has completely killed Milo's race in terms of being able to race with the front runners, if indeed there was a chance of doing so. The man has number 80... He's got 81 on his car. Man's Oscar Piastri. Interesting. Or it's 61. I can't tell. The game has a skill issue. Anyways, up at the front. There's your front three again, all in the same shot. Wilco hanging on very nicely to the back of Maximus, who himself is... I might have already got a penalty, to be honest with you. I've lost track. There's 5 people with time penalties for track limits in this race so far, as we head past the fulcrum point of this race. Through the middle sector, though, Jamie Tarquin has escaped. Look at that. In the stadium section, Buck 57 does get it done in the slow-speed corners for a brief moment. However, past the detection point, was he in DRS range? And the answer, I'm tempted to think, as we ride on board with Terziak for confirmation, did he get DRS, is indeed, no, he did not. So, Terziak with DRS, and with a lot of battery to play with as well. Buck 57 does not have such luxury. Neither does Jamie Tarquin, who's pushing like mad in that Williams car. Terziak, though, in a very, very comfortable position indeed. Milo pits, meanwhile. Thanassi with your fastest lap of the race. In Blackout, of course, fastest lap worth 3 whole points. That's quite a number, isn't it? Lap number 14 of the Blackout Racing League here in Mexico. Jamie Tarquin, your leader for the moment, although with a time penalty to his name. Buck 57 through that first sector, absolutely flying, and then the confidence just absolutely capitulates into this middle sector. Because look how much time Jamie Tarquin gains. Not as much as previously, but then you've also got this final sector. Again, where keeping the tyres in the right window is so important. Keeping the traction on hold is so important. Making sure your tyres aren't completely expired on their tyre life is also so important. Mexico is very much the Grand Prix of Pirelli. Spontaneously combusting for the most part, but you never know. We'll find out. Maximus and Wilco, meanwhile, cooped up behind Dirk. And that is not what they would have wanted, because look at this now. What was a 3-car train gladly shuffles into a 5-car train. Dirk is holding up Maximus so much. Him, Wilco, and the others have got to get past as quickly as possible. Because look who's there. Thanassi already going for the move on Tag Marty. You can see it in the background. Riding on board with Maximus. Dirk is fighting this to no end. But in the braking zone, Maximus absolutely launches it round the outside. Sends Dirk for a bag of chips. Or a taco, depending on where we are. But, you know, at the end of the day, he did what he had to do. Tagmata somehow defended from Thanassi. Of course, he has DRS himself. So that is why Dirk, though, goes very wide into that corner. And Wilco will surely try and find an avenue past. But instead, he's had his pants pulled down. Tagmata violates terms of service. Tries to get past. Will be side by side into this next section. A monumental amount of wheel spin. But Wilco does keep ahead for the moment. All action here in Mexico City. Milo down to P16 for a brief moment. And I caught a sumptuous switchback, it must be said. Great stuff. Ivory clattering over the sausages. Sounds like my Friday night. Into the stadium section he goes. Milo up into P14. Jamie Tarquin, though, into the pits. So here we go. Medium tyres going on for the Williams driver. Only 9 laps on them as well. Look how fresh his tyres will be. This bodes extremely well. And he better hope he gets out ahead of that Williams car. of his teammate Dirkleton. And indeed, he will get ahead of Dirkleton. Jamie Tarquin on much, much fresher tyres. There goes Thanassi, meanwhile. He's not hanging about for a second here in this race. A big push from Dirk. That is mildly robust, to underemphasize it. Into the left-hander he goes. Still wheel-to-wheel stuff between these two. Dirk tries to go round the outside. Massive slide from Thanassi. Catches the rear beautifully. More wheel banging from these two. Thanassi, though, chopping across, and through he goes into P5. Excellent stuff there. Here comes Tagmata round the outside. Lovely little move there. And Wilco, who had the opportunity beforehand previously, now has to wait even more time. It's anguish for the Aston Martin driver. Terziak and Buck 57 in, though. Jamie Tarquin didn't get the hold-up they would have hoped for. Thanassi and Tagmata did a little bit. Clean pit stops for both. Terziak onto the softs. Okay. Here we go then. Very interesting stuff. Buck 57 held up in the pit lane. And so, through goes Terziak. Both of them, crucially, on soft tyres, though. So, things aren't all what they're cracked up to be. If you're on those medium tyres and have been for quite some time, get ready to start crying furiously. That's the state of the tyres. 3 of the top 5 on tyres that are at least 5 laps younger than those ahead of them. Terziak looking to waste absolutely no time at all, trying to get past Thanassi. On board with the Alpine driver. Bit of wheel spin out of there. Tyre still trying to get up to temperature. It's in this section here where he'll really gain the time, if he is indeed to gain any time. Full throttle, keeps it pinned, and that is commitment, and that is aerodynamic grip if I've ever seen it. At the front, meanwhile, but Wilco's got a 3-second time penalty, but he's in 8th. I meant at the front. Jamie Tarquin on those fresh set of mediums, right on the back of Maximus. And there is surely no doubt in the mind of Williams that they're going to breeze past. Jamie Tarquin opens up his flap, reaps the benefits of clean air and punching a hole in the air as well. Through he goes, and through goes Terziak on those softs in the background. So Williams then, looks like they have this race completely wrapped up. Looks like nothing could possibly stop them. Looking ever more consistent. There's surely no way they bottle this now.
The plan is set, J-Lane. Don't worry.
Anyway, where was I? Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Jamie Tarquin up into P1 then, Maximus P2, but Terziak will do everything he can to stay within that 3-second window of Jamie Tarquin. And there's every evidence to suggest that he will on those soft tyres, which have vastly more grip than the hard tyres of Maximus up ahead. He has to get it done at the DRS straight if he possibly can. A purple Sector 2 for Terziak. Surely 3 fastest lap points will be going his way. Look how much time he visibly gains on the Alpine driver. Wilco and Dirk still going at it, by the way, as now Thanassi has a 3-second time penalty. Well then, and I told you, 3 points in favour of Terziak, and DRS in favour of Terziak, and past goes Terziak. So Williams thought they had it wrapped up. It is not done and dusted for 1 second here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez of the racetrack of the Rodriguez brothers. Tell you what, they're all seeing a spectacle today. Overtakes galore as Milo and Stark having a scrap. Stark into the pits, and he's going onto the soft tyres. Going for a last lap scramble here to steal 3 extra championship points, possibly, away from Alpine. Very smart. Very devilishly clever, but very smart. Much appreciated. Anytime, mate. I got you. The prancing horse will live forever. Sorry, I'm a commentator. I'm not biased. Here's Terziak, then. Trying to find any avenue to get into that slipstream range. All he needs to do is stay within 3 seconds. The soft should make it, definitely. Thanassi, meanwhile, gets up into P3. Past Maximus he goes. And Buck 57 on new soft tyres will surely do very much the same to make it AlphaTauri 3 and 4 in this race. Although with time penalties being applied, does Buck 57 really have to? The answer is yes, because pride's involved. So, oh my God, what a launch that was! Almost a Concorde crash into the back of the Ferrari car. Diffusers destroying themselves, but Buck 57 comfortably passed. And up into P4 now in this race. Meanwhile, it's Dirk that goes into the pits for another stop. With only 5 laps to go, soft tyres bolted onto the Williams car. And assume we'll see a last lap charge then. Oh, a last few laps charge from the Williams car. Down currently in P12, Vulcan and Slam having a ding-dong side-by-side battle. They were having a ding-dong side-by-side battle, but Vulcan won it. So they're not side-by-side. My God, Slam was late on the brakes. Living up to his name and indeed slamming on the anchors. But unfortunately, he was caught there, hook, line and stinker. Into the stadium section once again. Terziak almost within DRS range of Jamie Tarquin. Like I said, doesn't have to overdo this. All he has to do is stay within 3 seconds. Just over 5 tours of this Mexico circuit to go. And Terziak, after all of the pain and anguish, seemed to have a curse put on his car this season that might finally have a chance of being able to win a race in Blackout. Meanwhile, Raiden's had a bit of an oopsie, but carries on his merry way. So we look at the front again. Terziak darts out of the slipstream for a brief moment. Feints to the inside. Jamie Tarquin not even slightly fazed by that advance. He says, take your annual subscription somewhere else, but that's too wide there from the Williams driver. Surely another warning to his name as well, and he can ill afford to do that. He'll at least get P3 in this race if he just keeps his nose clean until the end. That's all he needs to do. Buck 57, meanwhile. Surely you'd want him and Thanassi to swap round. A time penalty and those softs clearly working very well. Buck 57 perhaps will say something I can't repeat on broadcast after this race, but we'll have to find out. Tarquin, P1, Terziak, P2. It's the battle of the T's once again. I thought it was done after Thanassi and Timalele last season, but no, it's come back to haunt me once again. And it's Halloween tomorrow, so that's rather fitting. Through the final few corners, the gap just over half a second, and it will remain so as Terziak once again will have a helping hand of DRS flappage to his name. There it is, opens it up for all the crowd to see. Some people in the crowd faint, but here comes Terziak, and into the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix, breezes past the Williams driver, and the curse has indeed been affected. It's infectious, it courses through the veins of those that fear it most. Must say, Dirk's progress as well. Very, very nice indeed. Slam also pitted onto softs, by the way. And look how many penalties there are in this race. 10 penalties all the way across the field in this Mexican Grand Prix. You can get caught out by track limits at the best of times, but that is a statement as to, one, how much they're pushing, and two, how much white lines make a difference. And so before I get arrested, here's how things stand. Terziak P1, Jamie Tarquin P2, just keeping in DRS range. Although a bit of a slide out of that corner means the curse is enacted. And he is outside of a second. Thanassi, just outside of 3 seconds. Buck 57 not choosing to go past. Either not choosing to go past or Thanassi not letting him past. Let's ride on board to find out. Lots of battery on the AlphaTauri car. Perhaps been saving his battery behind Thanassi. And if so, that's very smart indeed. Because now he can go on a last couple of laps charge towards Jamie Tarquin with a double dosage of DRS to boot. Ivory now with a 3-second time penalty. You thought 10 was nice. Make it 10, but with a bit more pain. Again, DRS open on the AlphaTauri car, and he's within that 3-second threshold, and that's all he needs. Just under 3 tours of the Mexico City Grand Prix track to go, and Buck 57 will push like a man possessed until the end of this race, just to make sure he can get AlphaTauri that second position and gain them even more points in the championship. Things calming down just a tiny bit here. It's been quite the spectacle here in Mexico City. Some ravenous racecraft. It's fully appreciated by everyone who's turned up in the stands. All 1,740,000 of them, in my mind. And it's a game, so I can say what I want and still be right. Let's see what Dirkleton's up to, though. Bolted on those soft tyres, only 3 laps ago, and he's already in DRS range of $120. So our one Williams, feeling the heat a little bit and feeling the pressure of the AlphaTauri car of $157. The other one having a great rub of the green against the McLaren cars, which are orange. Bit of a slide there for $120. 14-lap-old Hards will do that. And so, Dirkleton licking his lips and about to smack a filthy pass across the chops of the McLaren man of $120. And with no battery at all on the McLaren, there, sweeping past goes Dirkleton. 500 wings only work until you get to a straight. And then they flop like a brick. Raiden with a 3-second time penalty. Another 3-second time penalty for him. He's on new mediums and trying to catch up to Ivory. Although in 2 laps to claw back 11 seconds would be, if not mightily impressive, almost impossible. But never say never. You never know in Formula 1. Just over 1 lap to go then. And, touching all the wood on my desk, this man just needs a clean lap and he'll have done it. Finally, in Blackout, he will have won a race in Season 2 on F1 23. Had the safety car play into his hands, went for the mediums. I said at the start, surely that's the wrong decision, but no. No, I didn't respect his game. I didn't quite acknowledge his level of game. But he played the game to perfection. 2.3 seconds the gap so far. Dirk, who managed to get past the $120. I don't know why I said I was getting past himself, clearly. Maybe that is, well, it's a psychological barrier at least. But anyway, down the straight, no DRS for the Williams driver, but perhaps an opportunity elsewhere, given the superior traction of those soft tyres. Meanwhile, we turn our attention back to Terziak. I can finally say I haven't been blue-balled. I'm very confident about that. J-Lane, the man who I said was going to win the first race of Season 2 for Ferrari in Blackout Season 2. I don't know what I'm saying, but the point is I got blue-balled horrendously last time, but the fireworks can come out now. They can turn into a cacophony of noise and acclaim another new winner in Season 2. Terziak wins the Mexican Grand Prix. A sterling drive from the Alpine driver. I almost got caught and mixed up with my teams, but what a superlative drive, as he has done all season for the most part. He finally gets that win. $157, so lucky in the end. Front wings flying. Controversy. Someone's run into the back of somebody. $120 hasn't even finished the race yet. My apologies. $157 hasn't got a front wing end plate, so all things considered, he probably got that after. I presume he did, but still, my God, that's fine margins. Jamie Tarquin just under a 1/10 of a second away from getting P2 in this race. I must say credit to him. A great drive from the Williams man. On the hard tyres, firstly, to keep them in check, to stay well in the hunt. In the end, the mediums just wouldn't compete against the softs, and track limits is what let him down in the end for a P2. Thanassi, only P4. I say only P4 is still great points, but even so, perhaps what could have been for the AlphaTauri driver, if things had gone slightly differently, who knows? Maximus ends up in P5, Tag Marta in P6. And there you go. My goodness me. Well, what a Mexican Grand Prix. Like I say, what rapturous racecraft. My thirst has been quenched for banterous battles here in Mexico City. Incredible stuff. And finally, it's this man that does it. He is the man in Mexico. The city will rise to its feet. The fireworks still going to acclaim the Alpine driver. He put all his money into Binance, and it came out very fruitfully indeed. The Sprite Zero is sprayed, and Terziak claims the win here in Mexico. Jamie Tarquin and Buck57 are still an AlphaTauri on the podium when all is said and done. An incredible drive from everyone. Like I said, wonderful racecraft. You love to see it. There you go then. Terziak, not only with P1, but also the fastest lap, claims the full course, which will definitely have an insatiable appetite to him, and he'll definitely be hungry for more as we head into Monaco. But fastest lap, full 33 points to his name. Buck57, another podium for AlphaTauri in P2. Jamie Tarquin in P3. Thanassi P4, Maximus P5, the prancing horse. Not too bad for them in the end. Alpine with a 1st and 6th, courtesy of Tagmata. Captain Wilco in 7th. Milo in 8th, Dirkleton 9th, Buck20 completes the top 10 with Stark, Vulcan, Big Sam, Slam, Magico, Ivory in 16th, Raiden in 17th, J-Lane, the only person not to finish the race. Magico does get a solitary point. It's what I'll use in the wedding speech in the near future. Well then, there we go. Race 1 down for this evening. And, well, yeah, you know where we're headed off to next. You know where we are headed off to next. The Monaco Grand Prix. And if it's anything like Season 1, well, I am very much looking forward to seeing what on earth happens there. Who tries to make the overtakes? Maybe who dares wins when it comes down to it? Who will find the space? Who will rabbit their way through where no rabbit has rabbited before? Well, that is the question. We will hopefully have the answer to that very, very soon indeed. There you go then. Mexico City is done and dusted. Stark damaged his wing during the safety car restart. Oh, I see. Oh, God. That's pain. Yeah. Well, again, what could have been for Stark, I suppose. What could have been for quite a few drivers in Mexico. But when push came to shove, Terziak did the job. His first win of Season 2 on F1 23 of the Blackout Racing League. So many P2s, he finally did it. Will he continue that momentum into Monaco? Well, join us in a few minutes for the duel on the F1 calendar.
It's just me and you.
Right, everyone. We are soon to be back. Racing. Thank you, Stark. I literally just went on as soon as you said that, but thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're back. We are ready for death. Because some men want to watch the world burn. And this is one of those moments. Monaco. There was I'll tell you some behind-the-scenes intel here. You might not be able to know it, but I've cleared myself to say it, so it's fine. The whole Discord chat was asked whether to have simulation damage on for Monaco. An overwhelming majority said yes.
Including me.
You might be wondering why did Blackout say yes to this. I like watching carbon fibre go everywhere. That's my excuse. I don't know about you. Anyway, Monaco, the most glamorous event on the Formula 1 calendar. The worst overtaking place in the Formula 1 calendar. But where racing isn't the diamond, this certainly is. Monaco at night time. Don't say we don't treat you here. What an aesthetic scenario we find ourselves in. I will quickly bring up the lap time data, but if my simulation is correct this time, Dirkleton will be first out of the box. And the first to acclimatise to the streets of Monte Carlo. Right. Oh, for God's sake. Well, it's Wilco who's first out again, basically. And, well, he was first out last time, but it was a good omen. I'll tell you what, it was a very good omen for him. He got second place on the grid last time out. Only one man that was faster, and it was Jamie Tarquin, but he is not here for race number 2. Clearly, obviously, the reason was the fact he was enraged on losing out to P2. Not getting those extra points. This is not factual and cannot possibly be assumed to be the truth. But Monte Carlo, like I said, prestigious. Prestige is the word you think of when it comes to Monaco. Raiden says good luck to all the drivers, and boy, they're gonna need it. Magico says, hold me, Karl, I hate Monaco.
I'll be round in 10.
Anyways, through the tunnel, the echo of the symphony of V6 could fuffle as he cuts over the Novell chicane. If you cut over like that during your flying lap, absolutely fine. It's if you overstep the mark just a little bit too much. It's when things get a little bit too zesty for comfort. And I don't like where this is going because my game
has frozen. Why? Why do I actually bother? My game has actually frozen. Right. Well, if you were expecting to see some interesting stuff today, I hate to disappoint you, because you're not. You're not going to see anything interesting today. Can I actually get out of this? I think I can. With a bit of trial and error. Oh, F4. Shift tab. Do anything, please! My days. If anyone in Twitch chat can tell me how on earth I rectify this issue, please tell me. Because otherwise I'm going to have to restart my PC and that will not be fun whatsoever. We have a crisp shot here of... You know what? That would be my thumbnail. Of Buck 20 here at the swimming pool chicane. I am trying to close the game. Genuinely, I've pressed Control-Alt-Delete. I've pressed Task Manager and genuinely I've got nothing so far. Right, this is quite horrible, everyone. I don't know. How do you do control panel from there? Alt-F. I've tried Alt-F. Doesn't work either. Control-Alt-Delete is the only thing that's working currently. Right, what do I do? Well, clearly my computer's not broken because I can see OBS still doing things in the background. Yell at PC louder. Okay, hang on. Hang on. Work, you bastard! It didn't work, did it?
Right, well, this is a scenario I never thought I'd find myself in, but alas, it's one I found myself in regardless. As it turns out, while I can see that my OBS is working, because I can see it when I do an Alt-Tab,
Every time I try and do Task Manager, nothing happens. So that's not ideal. Ease of access. Shut up, you knob.
Make your computer easier to use.
Go and jump off a
Windows will
cliff.
read and scan this list
Shut up.
automatically.
Right, well, this is not ideal. I've said that 1,600 times, but this is really not ideal. Is the race still streaming through OBS? No, it's frozen on OBS as well. So genuinely, it's the game that's frozen. I just can't get out of it, which is a pain in the ass. But here we are. Alt F4. Alt F4, you absolute cretin. Let me see if there's another thing, a key code or something. Key command to close Steam game. It's just gonna say Alt F4. Yeah, no, the Alt F4 doesn't work. Right, well, this is a disaster. Okay, here's what I'm going to do, because otherwise I'll miss the whole of qualifying. I'm going to sign out, restart my PC, and then I'll be right back with qualifying for Monaco. I'm very sorry that this has had to happen, but alas, it is what's happening. Thank you for watching up to this point. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Bye-bye.